Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Wednesday Night Undressed. I'm Lewis Walton, your host, and tonight I am joined by the regular group of miscontents and malcontents and whatever you want to call these people. I am joined tonight by Evo, Fernando, Chris, Meredith, Julian, Cassidy,
Hello.
and Alena.
Hi.
How is everybody doing tonight?
Splendid. How about you?
Peachy.
Well, I'm feeling better than last time because you remembered my name. So
Well, I had to write it down. So
Well, at least you said it instead of going, my son whose name I'm forgetting.
What? You're hardly ever home. How's he supposed to remember your name, you know?
He's
Yes.
always home.
Mr. Evo, you just had a birthday. How you feeling?
I walk with a golf club. got injured on Saturday playing basketball. And got an elbow in my back.
Dude,
Felt like, I went down to the floor. Like I mentioned, though, I scored a spectacular basket. One of the best baskets of this year's March Madness. I was
that's what's important.
reverse layup, spectacular. And, the guy that was guarding me ended up falling on top of me and elbowing me in the back, and I just lost my legs, and I couldn't feel my legs for a while.
Shoot.
I thought, oh no. But then was able to get up with the help of my son Emil, who was there.
Mhm.
And he carried me off the floor and to the car and drove me home. So that's where we are. But I feel much better today. And just, this moment will live in glory, though.
That shot.
Because, yeah.
Let's hope there's video somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Going to start today by talking about the shooting in Nashville. There's been another mass shooting, and we're already starting to see the battle lines being drawn along the political party lines. In this particular case, a shooter entered into a Nashville school, killed 3 9-year-old children and 3 adults. So we've had 6 families that have had their lives directly turned upside down by the acts of this single disturbed person, and then hundreds more that are dealing with the after effects of knowing that it could have been their kid or their son or their mother or daughter or spouse, and there's still nothing being done by the folks that actually have the power to change the rules. This madness has to stop. And we've talked about potential solutions on this podcast before, and I don't really want to go down that road, but we do have a variety of folks here that have been involved with schools and as either students, teachers, or coaches. So for the
Or parents.
or parents. So I want to know, does your school do shooter drills? And do you feel like they are helpful? So I'm going to start with some of the young folks. Julian, does your school do shooter drills?
Yeah.
So what does that entail?
Well, when I did public school, it entailed go into this corner. They won't see you if you duck down, which I don't think that necessarily works.
Mm-hmm.
But now what they do, they go, we lock the door and you get to a point to where they couldn't see you if they tried, or we break a window and you leave.
Mm-hmm. So to me, that sounds like at least a strategy. Like it sounds like there's kind of a point to it. Cass, is your experience that as well?
Okay. So, at my school, I go to a public school. So we have 2 kind of like shooter drills, but like one of it's like a neighboring area that's a lockdown. And then shooter drills are code red. And then in code red, there's 3 steps. So the first step is the doors are locked and the lights are turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And we hide in like every classroom has a specific area where you hide, like a designated area. So you go there and you make sure that the windows, you can't see anybody. And then if the shooter tries and gets in, we try and block him off. And then if that's not working, there is the fight back one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's step 3. And also, if we're able to, we will escape out the window, and then there's like a designated area where we all have to meet up at. and then we get picked up by our parents.
And how often do you have to do that?
We have done code red drills like 2 times this year and like 6 times that I've been at this school in the past 2 years.
Gotcha. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that they are still going on, that like we haven't given up on the shooter drills. And so the other questions I'm going to ask is probably not going to involve you guys, because I got questions for the adults. So like, Eva, I want to start with you, because you were like not technically on the other side of the Iron Curtain growing up, but you grew up in the heyday of the
Cold War.
The Cold War. So did you guys have any similar exercise to stop, drop, and cover? Like, we were told if there was a nuclear bomb, literally, to get under your desk.
That's what we did. Yeah.
You guys did the same thing?
Oh yeah, all the time. It was petrifying, and it was ridiculous, of course.
I don't remember the nuke drills. That's
I did.
You didn't do
Yeah,
the nuke
you're
drills?
old.
I don't
Bro.
remember. I
do
remember
nuke drills either.
tornado drills where
Yeah.
we'd file down into the basement to our assigned spots.
Gotcha.
There were maybe I can remember first grade, maybe second grade getting under a desk, but I don't really remember why I was getting under the desk.
So, but I'm interested. Like, did you guys understand then, or even after, that it was completely pointless?
Yeah, we did. It was ridiculous. The nuclear emergency drills that we did were ridiculous, because we did go through lessons that explained what a nuclear bomb is and how it works, and there's 4 phases, and it was pretty obvious that you're not going to survive it. But the drills were unbelievably ridiculous.
Right.
For example, to give you an example, they told us if we're in the classroom and we see a mushroom cloud, to lay down with our feet pointing towards the mushroom cloud, like we were gonna get shot like a freaking bullet by the impact wave of the nuclear bomb. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous and meaningless. So yeah, we were doing those drills, and we knew that if that happens, we are doomed to an excruciating death. And there was nothing. They were absolutely pointless.
Do you think the teachers just give you a prank? Like, if I was a teacher at that time, maybe I would make up some shit like that.
No,
Yeah,
Fernando, this was all, like,
it was
here.
written.
This was
It was-
all over. Like,
Yeah,
I'm surprised that you don't remember that.
Well, I do remember, particularly the school in Manhattan, Kansas, had fallout shelters on all the stairways leading down into the basement.
Right.
So I remember that portion of it. But I don't remember specific get under your desk nuke drills when I was growing up in Manhattan, Kansas.
So it's funny, Meredith, because like you said, we're old. Like,
You're old.
But I think Chris, well, you're probably not the oldest. It's somewhere between you and Evo. But Evo's got clear remembrance of them. I have clear remembrance of them. You don't.
You're 10 years older than me.
So you think. I might actually
No,
be
like
60.
I was in like 5th grade when the Berlin Wall came down.
Yeah,
So-
that's probably about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Alena, you're like square in the middle of like these two groups. Did you have nuclear drills in school?
No, we
Okay.
didn't have anything like that. We had tornado drills, which I thought were just as ludicrous as the nuclear drills, because in my thought about a tornado is that if I get on the ground and put my head over my hands in the hallway of the school,
Right.
that's not going to do much when a tornado rolls through. The tornado drills or real tornadoes, I always wanted to be in the bathroom when those things happened and not in the hallway with my head over my hands.
Alena started school in the 90s, first and second grade. They had other type of calamities. They probably had boy band drills
Oh, yeah.
to avoid boy bands.
Not
I remember my sister going through those. She hated those.
We had school shooter drills as well, but I
Did
feel
you
like
really back in the 90s?
It's after bully.
Yeah.
It's after Columbine.
It's after, way after
Columbine was in
Columbine
90.
99.
I started school
Yeah. Yeah.
2000 in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Okay, that tracks.
And I feel like the biggest issue with the school
yeah.
shooter drills is that a lot of these attacks, unfortunately, are happening from former students of the schools.
Right.
So they know exactly what the drills are when they go to the
Holy
school.
crap. I had in the entire time I've been looking at this, that's not something that I've thought about.
Yeah, it's so I'm not sure how useful they are when a lot of the attackers are like our fellow students.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the biggest issue, of course, is not people not having access to guns, but we don't have control over that. My mother always told me, and I think you know probably too, because you grew up in East St. Louis, lots of gun violence, and my mother always told me the best thing to do when there's active shooting is to pretend like you're already deceased, because they just won't register. And I read that too that when there's shootings just on the street, that a lot of people will run away, and it's actually the worst. One of the worst responses is to run, unless you can hide behind something.
Yeah.
Because obviously the bullets are going toward vertically in the air, and the best thing to do is to fall to the ground if you don't have some place to hide quickly.
Well, and the eye just normally catches motion. Like that's one of the things that we are keyed to. So if there's someone that's looking for a target, something that's moving is going to catch their eye. Julian, what were you about to say?
So when we did ours, there's a funny little place in our classrooms that not many people know you can go into, and our teacher exclaimed that if that happens, that's where we're gonna go. Where most people don't know where that is, so it'd be kind of stupid for them to look if they don't know that that's there. And that's what we should be doing. You're just not telling the kids where, but having it readily available. Because it's just like, it's basically a door that you don't think has anything.
Gotcha.
So if you were to try and look there, or if my thing was to, I want to find kids so I can, I don't know, shoot them, because that's what I'm doing, then I'm not going to look where I don't think there's kids, because I'm on a limited time frame. So what I mean is, the whole goal should be hiding it in a place that's either inconvenient or just not you don't think about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm guessing the analogy you wanted to make with the nuclear drills is that maybe these active shooter drills are almost as pointless as those nuclear drills.
Well, I wanted to ask the question for sure, but I don't know. And quite honestly, listening to the kids, it sounds like
I was
maybe
say
they're
Alena made a
different.
really good point. They know the
Yeah.
drill. Like, I mean, most
Yeah.
shooting situations are student.
So what were you about to say, Eva? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
That's where we are. I mean, we're at a place where we're considering having armed guards in every school, every childcare, public pool, library, mall, public spaces, concerts, you name it. It's absolutely, we've become a ridiculous militarized state with more guns than people. And unfortunately, this stuff we are completely desensitized against. This shooting will be forgotten tomorrow. Does anybody even remember Uvalde? No. People forgot about Uvalde. There were twice as many people killed there. Parkland, does anybody remember? No. People forgot about. New cycle carries that away and sweeps it right under the rug. And the cycle continues. And we have more mass shootings than days in the year. More kids, teenagers, people die from shootings and bullets than from car wrecks. So this is where we are, unfortunately. I'm guessing we'll start designing schools with trapdoors, escape chutes. We are a ridiculous society.
Yeah.
When this happened, I believe it was 1967. I might be wrong. But Thomas Hamilton, when he armed himself to the teeth, cut the phone lines to Dunblane Elementary, walked in and killed all these 6-year-old kids and their teacher. 1 month later, all guns were gone in Great Britain forever.
Right.
Even the cops don't have guns. Even the Olympic shooting team has to go and prepare for the Olympic Games in Switzerland. That's how draconian they decided to be. To prevent this tragedy from happening again. Same thing happened in Australia.
Yep.
So we are the only civilized society that is shackled by this 1791 Second Amendment that has been weaponized by a lobbyist group for the gun manufacturers.
Despite the fact that the word regulated is the third word of the amendment.
Yeah.
Regulations were built into it from the beginning. Don't
Well regulated, right?
You-
That exists. Those two words exist within the Second Amendment.
the state has an interest in making sure that the weapons that the militia has are appropriate.
Yeah. And so, we are being duped and used by this industry that manufactures a product that has to be sold, and they have a very powerful lobby. And both Republicans and Democrats, I believe, are in the pocket
Yep.
of that lobby, and nothing can be done. This will be forgotten. Like I said, in 24 hours, people will forget
To the next
about Nashville. The next one will carry the news cycle for another 24 hours. And that's unfortunately where we are. And even children's lives don't matter anymore.
There will be lawsuits 4, 5, 10 years down the road. Lawyers will make money.
Yeah.
TV shows will make money,
Yeah.
but the people who are actually affected will not be made whole at all.
So, Meredith, what are your thoughts as a parent of a school-age person? Do you, you definitely don't remember the nuclear stuff. Did you have the shooter drills in school? Like because
No, I'm
you would be
not.
pre.
I graduated in
Pre-Columbine.
98.
Yeah.
Columbine wasn't until 99.
Uh-huh. So, do you think that they are helpful?
I have no opinion.
That's fair.
This is not something that I like to talk about because I don't know if when Cassie was talking about what happens during the active shooter drills, like it just makes me cry. And this is not something that I can talk about without like
Being emotional.
I can't.
That's
I
fair.
can't. Like I have to take my kid to school every day because it's a law, and like when I take my kid to school, like we can't just fucking make a choice that goddamn me guns aren't as important as my kid.
Right.
And so she's sitting up here doing these stupid fucking drills that no, I don't think she should have to do. I think we should just be the adult in the room. That's why I don't like talking about this topic. It pisses me off. It makes me fear for my baby.
Go ahead, Cassie.
When we did have a shooter threat, like everybody that day was like gone by 4th hour. Also, we have a bomb shelter in the school and an SRO. So,
What's an SRO?
student resources officer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
He patrols.
Fernando, were you about to say something?
Yes. I remember like many years ago when Andrea and Sophia, they were like, I think elementary school. And I, so desensitized. I forgot which mass shooting near was. Like, I heard that elementary school having like the shooter drill. Like, I was shocked and offended. I even like sent a letter. Because, think about it. Like, when I was like kid, I was like already traumatized by nuclear war by no reason whatsoever. Just the media, like, make that. Who the hell would nuke Brazil? Tell me that. Nobody.
Dude, you're
Argentina.
No, but there. Maybe the Uzbekistan.
Those
But
assholes.
those assholes.
Yeah,
But-
I hate Brazil.
But my point was like, but defensive, like, I don't know if the kids have like, you just gonna traumatize and make everybody overstressed when they're super young. They can't have this kind of burden on their mind to be ready for the wars.
So I didn't ask you. Like, were the nuclear drills a thing in Brazil?
Not a thing, but just the nuclear war was like because just the media, like, and the movie and stuff, everybody was freaking out when I was like teenager by no reason,
Yeah.
But it's just insane. I agree for all the points, but I think at the end, like, it's good to have a shooter drill. At least like kids get a little aware, because my thing is about always talk. You gotta have aware of your surroundings. Like, in one hand, like the violence on the streets there it's more intense. Like, I don't fuck around. I'm talking to you, but my eyes on the door. Like,
Right.
if anything gets weird, like I keep like looking. I have like a fear inside my blood that I'm kind of I always ready for the wars. But
Because you're a ninja.
yes, but
He always wears black.
There you go.
it's just like crazy. That's what I have to add. I agree. you guys put all the the points and how frustrated and how sad it is. Like it just hurts just to talk about the subject by a nonsense. And you already there is no gun regulation, doesn't matter. And then gonna happen like now it's the shooter was a woman this time, and now they restart. Oh, she bought 7 legal guns. Oh, and there was a mental situation. Come on, like what, people should not buy guns, period. Like
Yeah.
we're not in a pre-history. Like there is no reason whatsoever.
Julie, you.
No, you were.
No,
Oh,
I've already
okay.
spoken.
Alena, you go.
Okay. I just
Polite warrior.
yeah. I mean I mean to say I feel as though we are living in active warfare in this nation. We have been for a long time. Not really a kind of warfare that European nations or global nations understand. They deal with warfare on national levels for national reasons. Bombings are very different, but what we deal with is such a common and large amount of gun violence in this nation that we're used to from birth here, that we go about our days as if it doesn't exist, as if it's completely normal. We are normalized to a level of gun violence in this nation that active warfare doesn't even register as active warfare to us anymore. And it is a shame that people have access to guns in this nation, not just for the reasons of gun violence against others that we have to be afraid of constantly, but for the high levels of suicide rates that we deal with in this nation, completed suicides being very successful when people use guns, and the fact that most individuals, whether they're diagnosed with a mental health disorder or not, do not have the emotional maturity at any age to be near any kind of firearm. I think that it is just a complete shame that we're living with this level of fear when we're just trying to go to school or go to work or live our regular lives, and people end up, frightened with anxiety, don't even go outside for months at a time. And some of that is our own mental health issues, and some of that is the serious warfare that we deal with in this nation daily.
So I was gonna, it's interesting to me that you made that point at the end, because I was going to buttress what you were saying with like maybe even more criminal than the fact that the guns continue to be sold unfettered, is that somehow the marketers and the politicians have actually made it our fault or our responsibility to keep ourselves individually safe against this like society-wide problem. So no, I completely agree with what you were saying. Julian, you had a comment.
Um, the only type of school shooter drills I think that are effective are the ones that inform the kids enough on how to be safe, but don't inform them to the point to the shooter, if part of the school beforehand, knows everything. Like my classroom. If we didn't know that that door was there, then if somebody tried to shoot our school, then our teacher could bring us there, and they just wouldn't see us.
Right.
So basically, like the staff is the only people who knows
Uh-huh.
where these places are.
Yeah, and it's plus I think the idea of you having to meet up somewhere is a bit flawed, but good, but has to happen at the same time, because if you're condensing all the kids into one area, then and everybody knows where that area is, there's nothing stopping the shooter to just go to that area. But at the same time, there's no way to monitor where the kids are, especially if you're in the bathroom or you're in a different class during that time.
Yeah, is. Do you think we've reached a singularity though? Because there are already so many assault rifles and high-grade military weapons in private hands that there's no turning back. Even if we institute a buyback program like Australia did and offer money people to return their guns, that's not going to happen in this country. It's a very different mentality, and people will be armed for a couple of generations forward. There's no escape from this madness. And now we see the consequences everywhere, almost every day. I mean, when the shooting in Connecticut happened in Sandy Hook, I thought that that's the point where things are going to change, because you had this innocent first grader massacred, first graders massacred, and I thought, hey, this country's soul will be shaken now, and something will happen. No, nothing happened.
That was
Not
20 years ago.
Nothing.
it was such a long time ago, and since then we've had one after another. We had a mass shooting that over 100 people were killed in Las Vegas at a country concert from a hotel room. Still, nothing happened.
All they could do was talk about bump stocks.
Bump stocks. That's
What-
all, and they didn't even regulate those. There was some kind of fake regulation of bump stocks. Bump stocks for
Or
our
sides of
listener.
magazines. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that's
For our listener, bump stocks is a modification to a gun that allows for more rapid firing of rounds. But there's no regulation. You know, I wrote a story after Sandy Hook, where for a business working experiment, I went to a gun show to see how easy it is to buy a gun. Here at Cabela's, or you go somewhere, there's some kind of barely a background check. But at this gun show in Topeka that I went, it was ridiculous. It was a tent. You walk in, there's nothing. There's no checks, man. It was almost impossible to leave this place without at least a Colt, like a low caliber gun.
Right.
They were putting them in my hands for almost no money. You know, it was that unregulated. So I was thinking about the famous 1961 speech by Eisenhower, where he introduced the term military-industrial complex. He could have spoken about so many things in his last speech to the Union. He could have talked about the Cold War, the danger of nuclear war. Instead, he decided to warn all of us about the military-industrial complex. First time in history this phrase had been used by him. Why? I think he was trying to warn us against any kinds of integration between a large industry and the government. Because always the consequences would be, sooner or later, absolutely destructive and disastrous. And this is what happened to us. You know, number one, fiduciary responsibility of any kind of industry is making money for the shareholders. And that's what the gun manufacturing industry does. And they will do it at all costs. They will find lobbyists, they will purchase lawmakers, and it's completely unchecked. All of this is completely unchecked. This corruption is now legalized because of the 2011 ruling by the Supreme Court. And so now corruption's legalized, lobbyists can do whatever they want. They replace the word corruption with campaign contributions. And so everything is completely legal, and it will be swept under the rug, and more people will be dying. We live in a small, peaceful town in Lawrence, Kansas, a university town with a lot of intellectuals, poets, artists, writers, academic types, hippies. And yet in this peaceful town, we've had shootings. A friend of us lost her cousin in a bar shooting. You know, we had at Hy-Vee parking lot, two people, because of road rage, shooting at each other. Both of them died. Both extremely conservative, based on their social media posts, killed each other over somebody cutting the other one on the road. They parked at the parking lot at Hy-Vee, started shooting at each other. Both of them are dead. This is happening in Lawrence, Kansas. It's happening everywhere. No place is safe. It's just a matter of time because one of us will encounter some kind of shooting. So this is sad. This is where we are as a society. And unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done. The society has to change structurally. I mean, something has to change on a very, very, very basic level for us to experience any kind of change. You know, human beings by default are unstable. Emotions, we are susceptible to emotions. We get fired, we get cheated on, you know, we get cut off on the highway. And in that moment, if you have an AR-15 at your disposal, it is likely you open freaking fire if you lose your shit. So this happens on a daily basis, every single day.
You know, You know, I feel as though a lot of the time that people are justifying the purchase of these weapons, they're justifying the purchase of these weapons by saying they need to protect themselves against other people who also have purchased these weapons, which also, in connection to that nuclear war example, does create a sort of mutually assured destruction for the people who are purchasing the weapons to protect themselves against the other people who have purchased the weapons. And I believe as soon as somebody has purchased a weapon like that, they begin to, I think psychologically, feel so much constant paranoia that they're going to be attacked at any moment just by virtue of holding the weapon, that they will become just like the cops who are not trained enough to be on the force, or some who are racist, will end up being trigger happy in situations when they don't need to be. And that's where a lot of this trauma and death comes from. I don't think that the United States has ever been humbled by war, and I don't think the United States should ever be humbled by war. Since the Civil War, we've not been humbled by war. And I think other nations understand that to some extent, even though they're waging horrific wars right now in the Ukraine, that when weapons come out, everyone's at risk, and you don't protect your family with a weapon because the whole nation can be gone because of weapons, everyone you love and everyone you hate. And I don't think in the United States we understand that. And that's why we get into scuffles over getting cut off in traffic to that degree. Sorry
Fernando.
for that.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. Fernando, did you have something?
But yeah, imagine how you're gonna defend yourself if you're in front of a cocaine bear. You know,
The cocaine bear,
gotta
nothing.
have-
A gun's not going to
That's why
save
you
you.
need the AK-47
I-
for the
yeah.
cocaine.
You get the cocaine bear some food, you get him laid, you'll be fine.
Cocaine bear is unkillable. I watched the documentary, and they shot so many times at cocaine bear and nothing happened. But no, a few years back, I read a story about a 4-year-old kid killing his brother with his own gun, because the company Cricket manufactures guns for children.
Right.
Blue for boys, pink for girls, and their deranged parents buy it for their birthday. These are guns that actually fire live rounds.
Yeah.
The kid cannot read yet, but he has their own gun. So I mean, this is how ridiculous it's gotten. It's become absurd.
Those parents should be in jail for murder. Any adult who allows a child to get a hold of a gun that is then used to kill, that is murder. Straight up, not second degree, that's first degree murder in my opinion.
Manslaughter,
Parents
neglect.
in that one
to the
case?
point that it,
The parents that they charged after the school shooting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh.
that's exactly why they charged them.
Julie, you had a thought?
So I think that we have all not taken a second to realize we're trying to deflect the problem and not the root cause, because the amount of school shootings that are from people inside the school who are frustrated or mad or sad, so they think that's their only option out of it. If we just took more time in schools to focus on people's mental health, then this would a lot of this would not be happening.
Not just
And-
in schools, but everywhere for mental health.
I know that
Bring the corporations to heel so people can get paid more.
a lot of times people will joke about how America, it's all guns, but it's gotten to the point where it can be taken literally, to where we are giving literal children, toddlers, guns. And
Yeah,
I
that's what Evo was saying.
I-
If guns are being marketed to toddlers, that's a problem.
It's not just guns. It's violence itself is marketed to children. Look at all the violence that occurs in all of the cartoon shows marketed particularly at boys.
please don't blame the video games.
Yeah, let's not, I want to play Left
Leave
4
the
Dead
video
4.
games
So-
alone.
I agree 100% with you that mental wellness should be more of a priority overall. But the problem is that we've already had people that are parents now, that have children now, that did not receive any sort of mental wellness care, and are not the type of people that are going to go on their own. And a lot of those people have guns. I wish people would have a more self-awareness. I fired a gun one time, took me to the woods, they shot, and it was instantaneous that I remembered, I should never have one of these. If I have one of these, somebody dies. That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I should never, ever own one. Because many people suggested it after I was a victim of domestic abuse situation. And I was like, yep, no, we're good on that. However, while I do agree that there needs to be more focus on mental wellness, it makes me feel like Republicans saying mental health, mental health, mental health, because take away the goddamn guns. Like, we just don't need military weapons on the street for no fucking reason. There is not, like, no one needs that. It's a military style weapon for a
only for killing
reason.
people.
And you need to put military weapons with military, and that's it.
Julie, I'm going to let you have the last word on this, and then we're going to try to get in at least one lighthearted topic.
And that was I
Aw.
forgot I was gonna say. First, we need to be dealing with mental health because then that takes away the most of the root cause, and then we need to completely take away the means. Like, I know the UK, since taking guns, their stabbing rates have gone up, but I think that's a fair trade-off for not getting like
Hundreds
a
of
school
people killed
shooting
at a time.
every other like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The common denominator in in all of it, in every shooting, is the gun and not the human, not the mental health. It's the most common denominator is the gun. Mental health is a Republican Party talking point.
Yep.
And every time, everybody that brings that talking point, every Republican lawmaker that says it's because of mental health, all of them, every time, without an exception, vote against every mental health program that is being proposed. Every time they vote against it.
Well, and I also think it's a deflection because, frankly, I've had some pretty severe mental health crises, and I think a lot of the people that are enacting violence against other people with firearms, they frankly don't have mental health disorders like severe psychosis or severe depression often, because when people are struggling from those things, they might be able to harm themselves, but I don't think they have the ability to make plans. And when I'm struggling severely with my mental health, I can barely take a shower. So often I think it's actually people who are they're mentally unhealthy in the sense that they're sociopaths, but I don't think they're struggling with traditional mental health disorders.
They don't have record. They buy their guns legally, and
But if we had
Mentally ill people are 10 times more likely to be the victims of a crime. Period. Like, sorry, Julian, I hate to nail you to the wall on this one, but I just can't agree with you that mental health. I'm not saying mental health doesn't need to be fixed. I agree, but I think that you cannot do one without the other. They have to be done in conjunction because until the mental health problem, that's a long-term process. That's something. Dealing with people's mental health is something, I mean, Alena, I'm sure you can speak to it. It's something that you deal with for years and years and years to improve. And in those years and years and years that we wait for mental health to improve in this country, people are still dying every day because whomever it is has access to all kinds of guns they don't need.
And if you get rid of the guns, then you get rid of the mass murder aspect of the situation. So that's basically it. Like, for sure, the mental health stuff has to be taken care of. But if we get rid of the guns, we reduce that number from thousands every year.
Frankly,
to just a few.
If we get rid of the guns, we're also helping with part of the mental health problem because, as Meredith is saying, like, people who have mental health disorders are 10 times more likely to be victims of crimes than perpetrators of crimes. A lot of the reason people have mental health disorders in the first place is because other people have guns, access to guns. So getting rid of the guns also helps people who are struggling with severe mental health problems.
I agree. I mean, my anxiety flared up just listening to my daughter talk about her drill at school. Like, I mean, that's an example of it affecting my mental health. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, just last year we had tens of thousands of people who died from gun violence in this country. In the Great Britain, I think there were 17.
Yep.
So there you go. There you have it. The numbers speak for themselves. It's so obvious.
and you really don't have to get rid of the guns. You just need to control them better. I mean,
I agree with that. They don't need to go.
I like the Swiss model. You can have the guns. You can have the guns at your house. The big thing though is you don't get the ammunition. You get maybe like 5 bullets to keep at home so that you can defend yourself in your home.
Arsenal.
And that's it. You want to shoot? You go to the gun range. That's where you get the ammunition. You shoot it at the gun range, and then you can take your gun home, but you don't have any ammunition.
I like that.
All right.
with that.
We're going to move on. I know this is a potentially, like, we could talk about this all day, and like we've literally talked about it for about 40 minutes. So thank you guys for everybody for participating. I appreciate hearing from all of you. So I have had a request that we do the music mashup question. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I only got one no, Cass. So
She
you're
has strong
outvoted.
feelings about the food.
You're outvoted. I'm sorry. Well, let's just real quickly. What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is sushi. Actually, I made plans to eat sushi on Friday, and I'm eating a bowl version of it on the weekend,
Would that
probably
be
Saturday.
Poke?
Yes.
Very nice.
And it's amazing, and I could eat it every day of my life, and I love all the different types and all the variations, and really good. And it's seafood, and seafood's my favorite type of food, so I really like sushi.
Okay.
It's always been my favorite food, well, as long as I can remember.
What about wasabi? Do you dunk
I hate
everything?
wasabi. I hate ginger. I hate wasabi.
I knew she
cannot
hates
eat
something
either
about
one of them.
sushi.
I do love masago on sushi. That's really good. Yeah.
All
that's
right.
it.
So now we're gonna talk about the musical mashup. So Danger Mouse created the Gray Album, mashup of Jay-Z's Black Album and the Beatles' White Album. The best musical mashup of all time. Fight me. Anybody.
Ever.
Anybody.
Are we fighting in here, or do you want to take it outside?
No, I want you to tell me if you think of the term mashup for music, what comes to mind?
Collabs of styles of music.
So what is a music mashup for you, Bubba?
It's when you take a genre of music.
No. Give me an
Oh,
example. Don't explain it.
There's this guy named Playboy Cardi, and he has
no.
and he no, let me finish. And he has a lot of times he puts classical in his songs, and then people take that and they make it into like rap music, and that's a mashup because it's two different genres
Gotcha.
that they turn into one better genre.
Gotcha. Fernando.
Well, mashup, I mean, this is like, I'm so glad that I know you, Lou, because you actually introduced me to this album, and I'm a very huge Beatles fan, and also, like, big fan of rap, and this album was freaking blew my mind when I heard that.
Right?
Yes.
So,
Thinking on mashup, I think I never seen nothing even close. There is a band, but I mean, I think you can call mashup too. There is this DJ called Girl Talk.
I've only recently heard about Girl Talk.
I think it's phenomenal the job that the guy does mixing stuff, and he put like classic, like 80s rock mashed with like raps, and then he put the lyrics. It's very interesting in a different like level, but very worth to check it out. He has several albums. But I mean, besides the mashup, would that count like covers
So I think covers
or
count.
interpretations?
I think covers count.
That's I was thinking covers counted as well.
So my top of the list early 90s album called Red Rot and plus Rio. It was a big collab in like a top big hits of bossa nova. I never get old. I listened to this album literally like from the early 90s, and I found a Japanese vinyl version. I bought it like I would pay whatever I could pay, because it's one of the best albums I ever owned in my life. So there is collabs in classical, like from David Byrne singing with like some Brazilian singer, Herbie Mann and Stereolab, Crystal Waters. What's the guy that got caught on that parking in London? He was from the Wham band.
Oh, I don't know.
George Michael
Oh.
singing bossa nova, and Astrud Gilberto, Everything But the Girl, and a lot of Brazilian artists, but a lot of was all collabs.
Gotcha.
But that's what I have.
Gotcha. How about you, Evo?
I don't know. I mean, I think Thriller by Michael Jackson is a really good mashup album that kind of gave permission to use rock and even hard rock and mix it with funk and dance music. And
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, I mean, it kind of, after that, we saw a lot of that happening. But really, if you think about it, almost everything is mashups since Elvis Presley, I mean, I'll exclude some pure, like, heavy metal bands or disco bands, but a lot of the great music is really mashup music. If you look at Dire Straits, they use country and rock and roll in almost and mixed it together in folk music and made it cool. Led Zeppelin 4 used a lot of folk music and mixed it with hard rock. And our good old friend that we got to meet and talk to, Bob Schneider, almost every song he does is country, hip hop, rock and roll. Long before Lil Nas X showed up,
Right.
he was doing that kind of stuff. And so really a lot of the great music is mashup music. What comes to mind is Puff Daddy and Jimmy Page doing Kashmir for the movie Godzilla.
Oh my
If you
goodness.
remember, that was actually pretty good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Meredith,
What's up?
you've warned me that I'm not going to like what you have to say.
Well, a couple things. Like, as you guys are talking about this whole situation, makes me feel more like I don't really know what we're defining as a mashup here. And I know you gave me a definition, the collab of two different musical genres together. But, gospel's been used in rap forever. R&B mixed with rap. And to me, Thriller seems like a push on musical mashup, but then does pop really have a definition?
Yeah.
So I would push back on that to say that Thriller is almost definitionally a mashup, but the thing that makes it interesting is that basically all American music, like Evo said, has been a mashup, but our people have been excluded from mainstream music for so long that people just don't realize it. So the thing that was fantastic about Thriller is, sorry, Fernando just handed me a note that I gotta bring up, but our people have been pushed out of mainstream music so much that most folks don't realize that it's like you said, Evo, when Elvis Presley did rock and he basically just
gospel and blues and country and
gospel and blues directly into it and mash this stuff up. It's always been a part of for me, American pop music, and just we don't get recognition for it.
Yeah.
So can I finish my point?
Sure,
now?
sure.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Hey,
Hold on.
my podcast.
No, I'm sorry. I disagree with you that Michael Jackson. I don't care. I know you're saying it to me and it's coming out of your mouth. I disagree. Because I feel like a black person doing a different style of music than what you expect does not then make a mashup. That is not, and that's basically what you're telling me is because it incorporated musics that were not typically white music, were not typically, black styles, then makes it a mashup.
Yeah.
I completely disagree with the basis of that comment. It's just like Hootie and the Blowfish, never thought that dude was gonna go country. But he's a great country music artist. He's fantastic. And but is he a mashup? Because he's in a genre that does not typically belong.
But what you're saying
Depends on what he's doing with his music.
No, but if he then takes the country stylings and applies it to
You mean all new country?
No. You're getting past my point. If he takes his country stylings and applies them to a pop song, then that's a mashup.
Yes.
Or takes any two
he's
genres,
a pop artist,
or three or four.
So how does that work? This is what I'm
styles.
saying. This
Two
is,
styles.
but again, here's what I'm saying. You're talking about two styles, but we're kind of
What about three? Can we mash up
honestly,
three?
I have a more philosophical problem with this whole situation after we've started talking about it. It was very black and white to me before, but now I don't think it matters if he is
This is the beauty.
because all new country is basically R&B pop. So again
But
it
what you're
doesn't-
saying, what you're saying is a mashup between what I and Louis said.
Okay, well there you go. I just this is one of those things where it's how far down the line do we go?
Yeah.
And that to me is insanity. But I guess if we're going with the traditional definition, or I don't even know this traditional, but the definition that you gave me when we started this, I thought about it. I do like Alien Ant Farm's Smooth Criminal version, but I really just have to say and give props where props is due to Run DMC and Aerosmith. Thank you.
That was what
Nice.
just handed me.
Run DMC and
Nice.
Aerosmith, walk this
That's
way, baby.
That's a mashup.
Nice.
Alena, you got one before we shut this
Yeah.
thing down?
Did everybody get to talk?
Not
Chris,
yet.
Chris get to talk?
Maybe I'll let him
You
give
were
a chance. You go
silenced.
first.
Judgment.
Because we're black.
Anything, any pop song done in the polka style.
Weird
So-
Al.
Weird Al with the parodies. Hit Me Baby One More Time, Britney Spears polka version.
Amish Paradise.
Staying Alive polka version. Every popular pop song done with a polka band and accordion and those like accoutrements. It just warms my heart, and I do have many of those mashups on my playlist, on my Spotify playlist that go through and brightens my day.
Fantastic. Mr. Chris.
I didn't really hear mashups in terms of two different songs brought together like the Grey Album, which is a good album. I thought more in terms of albums that artists put out where they stretch what they did before. And the first one that came to my mind when I was in the kitchen considering this one was The Clash's Sandinista.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. What
We
is
already
that?
got you, Julian.
And
What did you say?
And as a corollary to that one too, there is a cover version of this album where a group of artists did every song on it in a completely different style.
What is the name of this album again?
Sandinista from The Clash.
Oh, okay, that's why.
It's the double album that came out after London Calling. It is absolutely incredible.
Never gonna listen to it. But
Miss Cassie, did we get one from you?
Ice music and heavy metal.
Ice music? Okay.
Ice music is like, music that sounds like really crunchy and liquidy. That's
I'm
why
sorry,
it's called ice
how does-
music.
what are you talking about?
Ice music. Have you never heard of this?
Okay, on this end of the table, I'm going too
we-
far that
we're playing
direction. On
ice?
this end, I'm going too far that direction.
All right, guys. This has been a good episode for me. We got to talk about something serious. We got to talk about
My
something
favorite
silly.
food is tacos.
Yippee!
Nice, nice.
My favorite food is food.
I understand.
Sushi Wednesdays are discount days.
All right. I'm going to thank everybody that was here. I'm going to thank Evo, Fernando, Chris, Meredith, Julian, Cassidy. and I.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys so much. You have listened to
You're welcome.
another episode of Wednesday Night Uncrossed.
Huzzah!